The latest Pompey news, updates every day from the Pompey Sound news desk.
In his most recent Pompey Sound podcast, Mick Robertson, veteran Pompey fan, he explains why he thinks Pompey's short to medium term future looks particularly bright, and also ruminates a little about the mouthwatering upcoming derby.
In the Mousinho era, there'll be a lot more money coming back to us than goes out if the buys that he's made recently are anything to go by, because they're very promising young people who are already appreciating in value, and all of that's going to be good in the football market that we pursue as the seasons go on.
Mick's remarks come after the news that Pompey, Andrew Cullen made the announcement that Pompey made something of a decent profit from their transactions during the most recent transfer window. The sale of three of our players, Towler, Lane, and who was the third one? Sadie, of course, outweighed what losses we incurred with Abdoulaye KAMARA, and we don't know what that loss was. Mick attests that we paid an awful lot less for him and his signature than is rumoured in certain places. But Mick's point is that we are starting to see the dividends of Pompey's recruitment policy. Young players with potential, that now that we're in the Championship especially, and under a respectable Championship side, that clubs who've got a few bob are interested in buying some of our squad players, people who tend to start the game on the substitutes bench. If they drop a division, or at least drop a little bit in terms of the playing ability and perhaps the attendances and the television money coming into those clubs. So they take a bit of a hit, but we're able to sell them on at more than they have cost us to both buy and have on our books. And Mick believes, doesn't he, and you can hear the full thoughts of Mick on this subject, plus a look ahead to the Southampton derby, by going to his entire podcast, which I think is called something like Mick Looking Forward to Derby Day. And if you're listening to our output, you can find all our podcasts by Googling Pompey Sound Podcasts, or going to your podcast provider, which might be Spotify, something like that, and again searching for Pompey Sound Podcasts. Mick goes into greater detail about his positive thoughts about Pompey starting to generate sensible funds, meaningful, useful funds to go alongside our attendance fees. That's the stuff that we get, the cash that comes in on the turnstiles, our fees for television, which are now quite significant. But also, if we're starting to make a profit in the transfer market, then things are really starting to look up in every respect. The infrastructure of the club, the personnel connected with the club and the jobs that they're doing, and the playing staff, of course. And that all has to reflect well on the owners, as well as the chief executive and his team, and John Mousinho and his team. So well worth a listen to what Mick has to say on those two major fronts.
18 months ago, give or take, Abu Kamara was lining up in a blue shirt against the likes of Leyton Orient in the Football League trophy. Now, after his official unveiling as a Getafe player, he faces the mouth-watering prospect of lining up against the likes of Barcelona and Real Madrid. Kamara, who wrote his own page of history as a Pompey player making a sizable contribution towards Pompey's title-winning season, is believed to have turned down Swansea and Birmingham in favour of the La Liga side. Getafe currently lies 6th in the Spanish First Division, after 2 wins out of 3 so far this season.
Yes, he probably won't make the starting lineup against Barcelona and Real Madrid, because those two games come quite soon in Getafe's schedule. I think they're playing Barcelona on the 21st of September and Real Madrid 3 or 4 weeks after that, and he's got to obviously acclimatise himself and come up to speed and get match fitness, because he hasn't featured for Hull at all this season. He wasn't tested. in their first opening 2 games. Obviously, with the possibility of him joining Getafe, they didn't want to risk him picking up a knock. But there are some important details about this move by KAMARA and Hull that have to be taken on board. One is that he hasn't been sold to Getafe. We were put off investigating whether or not we could bring him to Fratton Park because we were unlikely to afford the transfer fee, which would have been at least 3 million. After all, it was 4 million plus that he was sold to Hull for. And, you know, you don't want to take too big a hit in the transfer market. £1 million deficit on the 2 transactions is probably just about as much as anybody of Hull's enormity could handle. But we wouldn't have had to put our hands in our pockets because he's gone to Getafe on loan. Did we offer him a role at Pompey on loan to us, where he did such a good job for us and we did such a good job with him, bringing him on? Remember how low his confidence was and how frankly poor. I mean, it was 5 or 6 out of 10 the first few games he played for us. But John Messino and the coaching staff stuck with him, worked on him and turned him into a player with a valuation of over £4 million when he made the lucrative move to Hull. But he's gone to Getafe for a year-long loan, Getafe having an option to purchase him at the end of this season. So obviously he's ambitious, because going to La Liga instead of staying with a championship outfit, whether it's Swansea or Birmingham or Pompey, going to La Liga and fighting to get on the starting lineup of a side that are obviously pretty accomplished, shows that he thinks, well, he believes in himself. He thinks enough of himself. He believes he's got enough potential to flourish in La Liga. It's a slightly different type of football. Of course, Spanish football, it's not quite so muscular as the Championship. For goodness sake, I don't think there are many leagues in world football that are as muscular as the Championship. And if you, good listener, were a person with the skill sets that Abu Kamara has, I imagine you would be tempted to Spanish football rather than the Championship as an opportunity to show what you can do. He's talking about his direct style of play. He's talking about the fact that he likes to play for sides who break quickly. And apparently Getafe, their sporting director, their technical director, said all the right things to Kamara about how they see him fitting into his new club. And it will be really interesting, won't it, to track how well he gets on in La Liga and to see where he ends up when the season-long loan from Hull to Getafe ends, whether he goes back to Hull, which doesn't seem very likely, does it? Or somehow manages to wangle a new life for himself in Spain. But as always, good luck to him. He did us proud and we did him proud. So fingers crossed for Abu Kamara in Spain.
Pompey suffered penalty shootout heartbreak as jubilant Romsey Town claimed a Hampshire Senior Cup scalp. Sam Hudson's young side and the Wessex League Division 1 Highflyers couldn't be separated after 90 minutes with the scoreline goalless, thereby sending the second-round tie to spot kicks. It provided the dramatic finale a packed Bypass Stadium crowd demanded after a tight 90 minutes containing very few goal-scoring opportunities for either team. With the game finishing goalless, a penalty shootout ensued with Reggie Buckland, Nathaniel Keoma, Michael Anee, Bo Mullins, Dane Bailey and Dexter Lee all netting. However, Martin's effort was saved, while Agu sent the penultimate penalty of the game wide, allowing Scott to settle matters and send the home crowd wild.
So apart from the result, which was a goalless draw, we lost penalty shootouts, and it's a bit of a coin toss, isn't it? But apart from the result, and the theft of John Westwood's wig, I'm not going to dwell on that. He gets quite enough publicity, if you don't mind. A really successful evening. The Pompey side, up against men, not boys, were boys. They were all academy players, under 18s and younger. And all of them acquitted themselves really well, particularly our centre-half and particularly our captain goalkeeper. Get honourable mentions from an excellent profile that Neil Allen has penned for the news, worth butchers, if you get a moment. The academy is really starting to build and buzz and provide us with people. Part of the reason that we've got Mackenzie Kirk in the club is because Toby Stewart, who is on loan to the club that we got Kirk from, and Toby Stewart did the grown-up thing, recommended that he go to Pompey, told him some good things, plenty of good things about Pompey. So this is a mature young goalkeeper who we've got coming through the ranks. We've got two mature-looking young goalkeepers coming through the ranks, which is absolutely fantastic. And then we've got Brandon Downey, who's just arrived and can't play competitive football yet because he has to get international clearance, something that I don't personally understand because I believe he's Northern Irish and I believe Northern Ireland is part of the United Kingdom, depending on how you look at it, because the Brexit rules and regs about the status of Northern Ireland, mainly to do with trade, but obviously also to do with employment, is beyond me. But he's having to wait to get international clearance and then he's going to be able to play some competitive games. And Sam Hudson has been waxing absolutely lyrical about what he describes as a technical winger. I think that might mean an old-fashioned winger, somebody who likes to keep both of his heels on the touchline. He describes him as being a dribbly winger who can play on both sides and more of a choppy stop-and-start type of player, probably not one to knock and run and explode really quickly. We've got a couple of youngsters in the academy sides who can do that, and of course we all know that it's Josh Murphy's absolute speciality, the knock and run and explode really quickly type of winger, as opposed to this young man who's picked up some really promising accolades from behind the scenes at Pompey, is more of a choppy and stop-start type of player. Can't wait to see these guys.